What could be more exciting than a crazy police chase? Chaos, cars ramming into each other, gunshots, helicopters in the air. The main thing is that all this doesn't happen to you. Today, I will tell and show you the craziest chases that resemble scenes from video games, only with a bunch of real victims and casualties. Chrysler. And yes, in the USA, police chases have become something like a television hit. Sometimes TV channels even hire helicopters to cover the unfolding action. Often chases follow a familiar script, chased and caught. But sometimes there are stories that stand out from the ordinary. For example, recently on Car Scoops, an exciting story about a chase for a Chrysler 300 under Los Angeles appeared. Events were already boiling when the live broadcast began. The Chrysler driver seemed to think he was in GTA, not in the real world. First, he shook off the police on the highway, periodically swerving among other cars, and then burst into the city, where he got into an accident at one of the intersections. But even that didn't stop him. The car was damaged, but kept moving. Then he decided to get back on the highway again, perhaps realizing that he couldn't escape the pursuit in the city. In the end, after a 20-minute race, the road had to be blocked. The media humorously admired the driver's skill, but it's clear he was far from sober. This is a reminder to everyone: don't drink and drive, and don't break the law. And if you really want to chase, it's best to do it in a virtual world, not on real streets. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. I'll show much more massive situations further on. Ryan Cole Stone. On the 12th of March 2014, Ryan Cole Stone approached the Longmont Fire Department with an unusual request. He asked them to take him to a homeless shelter. However, at the Bradley gas station, Stone suddenly decided to change his plans. His attention was drawn to a red Ford Edge with the engine running. Without hesitation, he got into the car and drove off, not realizing that a 4-year-old child was left in the back seat. Yes, indeed, when the Colorado State Patrol found the car, a chase began. The Ford Edge was speeding at 100 miles per hour. Around 7:38 a.m., Stone crashed into the bumper of a brown 2011 Kia minivan. He literally pulled the driver out by her legs and pushed her onto the road, then drove off in the stolen car heading west. But that was just the beginning. At 8:05 a.m., trying to avoid a stop, Stone hit Officer Balaman He, who was trying to deploy stop sticks. Stone continued his destructive path, crashing into a silver BMW and then hitting a black Nissan sedan just a couple of minutes later. But that wasn't enough for him. Shortly after, he crashed into a silver Toyota, pulled out the driver, and drove off again until he tried to squeeze between two cars at the Lincoln Avenue intersection. Unsuccessfully. Stone collided with another silver sedan and a Mazda SUV before leaving the Toyota behind. Leaving behind a chain of accidents, Stone tried to steal a Subaru Outback but couldn't overcome the locked doors. Desperate, he ran towards a shopping center but didn't make it far. In the end, he lay down on the ground and surrendered to the police. 30-year-old Stone was sentenced to 160 years in prison for 18 crimes, including attempted murder and child abuse. Stone himself was proud that his case received international attention. Fortunately, no one died. Atlanta. In Atlanta, on January 5, 2022, a report was received of a BMW theft near a residential complex on Joseph Boone Avenue. 4 hours later, police identified a suspect who was just getting into the stolen car. An attempt to stop him was unsuccessful, and a chase ensued involving a police helicopter. From the sky, the pilot observed the suspect's actions, relaying information about the car's location to the ground police. The pursuit resembled scenes from an action movie. The thief raced ignoring all traffic rules, miraculously not hitting other cars. However, his driving skills failed him at the most inconvenient moment. The car spun out of control and he crashed into a pole. The suspect left the car and ran towards a cemetery, but trying to escape on foot from the police helicopter turned out to be not the best decision. There was an infrared camera on board. As a result, the police managed to apprehend the young man who was found with stolen firearms. 22-year-old Vianci Ross from Atlanta faced charges on fleeing from the police, theft, intentional property damage, and unlawful possession of weapons. And I'll try not to slow down. Pennsylvania chase. An unusual chase occurred in Oklahoma City, starting in the morning at the intersection of SW29 and Pennsylvania Avenue. The reason was a stolen pickup truck with a trailer, about which the police received information from Bridge Creek. Stephanie Jones, the owner of the vehicle, reported that her car was stolen on November the 3rd when she left it to warm up outside her house. At that fateful Friday morning hour, her husband accidentally spotted the pickup in Oklahoma City and immediately called 911. The chase for the pickup, spotted on I-240 and heading towards East Avenue and then to Moore, turned into a real epic adventure. The thief, finding himself at the Orr farm in Moore, decided to get rid of excess cargo by throwing out a large orange crate. At this point, a brave citizen appeared, who attempted to block the stolen vehicle's path. But the thief, ignoring him, simply drove through the field. The vigilant citizen, undeterred in his social duty, fired 3 shots at the pickup's tire. The situation in Moore escalated to the point where access to several schools had to be blocked, and checkpoints were set up at the entrances to the city center. Not to mention attempts to throw spikes directly under the thief's vehicle's wheels. But the most unusual turn was that during the chase, the suspect not only actively used his phone for calls, but also found time to go live on Facebook, where he apologized and looked for a lawyer. The hour-long standoff in the field near Norman ended when the thief, trying to escape the pursuit, reversed into a pond. This maneuver immobilized the pickup, and although the driver attempted to flee, he was quickly apprehended by an officer. Biker. A motorcycle undoubtedly possesses a set of characteristics that make it almost an ideal choice for those who decide to flee from pursuit. Its size and maneuverability indeed allow for remarkable agility maneuvering through urban traffic and squeezing into spaces where a regular car would be stuck without a chance. In one thrilling example from Texas, a biker demonstrated how effectively these motorcycles' advantages could be used in action. His chase was like a scene from a movie. It spanned 6 cities and reached its climax at Dallas-Fort Worth Airport. During this marathon, the speed of his 2-wheeled steed sometimes reached 100 miles per hour. The situation became even more dramatic when at some point a biker almost hit a policeman who was also on a motorcycle and was trying to catch up with him. It must be acknowledged that despite all the risks and dangers of such behavior, evading pursuit was executed with remarkable skill. BMW. Here's another spectacular but brief chase. During a nighttime patrol, a police officer clocked a BMW 640i, which like a bullet was speeding down the highway at 108 miles per hour when only 65 was permitted. As soon as the pursuit began, the BMW driver seemed to accept the challenge, pushing his metal steed to an astronomical 140 miles per hour. However, this thrilling surge was not successful for the offender. Thanks to the persistence and skill of law enforcement, the car was caught and successfully stopped. Texas. On a warm August day in 2023 in San Antonio, Texas, members of the Street Crime Unit were in the Cross Spring area on assignment. Their target was a man wanted for aggravated assault. Officers' attention was drawn to a suspicious vehicle. An attempt to stop it led to an unexpected turn of events. A woman jumped out of the car, and the driver, decisively closing the door, sped forward, colliding with a patrol car. The suspect gained speed and drove onto the upcoming lane, where he eventually collided with another car, after which the vehicle stopped. Exiting the car, the man began firing at the officers, injuring one of them in the arm. In response, 2 police officers opened fire. While on the highway, the suspect not only fired at passing cars, but also tried to steal them. At that moment, 2 officers opened fire to stop him. I wonder, who will compensate people for the damage? And what to do if your car is stolen and crashed? or if you're just involved in a traffic accident in America, where to turn? The DTP America company helped its clients receive $21 million in compensation. Here, they will definitely answer all your questions. Link in the description. Trickster. In the heart of Los Angeles, California, on June 22, 2023, an intense pursuit unfolded. In the area of Beaumont, police pinpointed a black Jaguar reported stolen. The ensuing chase intensified with the involvement of a police helicopter. The suspect, determined not to surrender without a fight, raced down the 10th highway, speeding the car up to an impressive 100 miles per hour. The intrigue peaked around 8:15 p.m. when the Jaguar disappeared under an overpass. For a moment, it seemed like the pursuit would end. The driver was seen slowing down and beginning to brake. However, emerging from under the overpass, the car was moving much slower, and soon the driver, seizing the moment when the helicopter crew couldn't see him, managed to vanish without a trace. He simply floored the gas pedal and fled. The car was moving on its own and stopped only with the help of a lamppost. When the officer approached the vehicle, it became clear that this time the criminal had outsmarted them, quicker and craftier. It emerged that besides car theft, the man was wanted for assaulting an officer with a weapon. Charlotte. In the heart of North Carolina, in Charlotte, on November 22, 2023, an incident occurred resembling a Hollywood action movie plot. The owner of a black SUV made a fatal mistake by leaving the key in the ignition while going shopping. This caught the attention of two passers-by who, seizing the opportunity, quickly sprang into action and soon disappeared in the stolen car. The Charlotte police, promptly picking up the trail of the stolen SUV, initiated a fierce pursuit. The driver, attempting to shake off the pursuit, accelerated, running red lights and creating dangerous situations on the road. He aggressively maneuvered around police cars several times, even attempting to ram them, causing oncoming traffic to panic and swerve aside. However, the escape was doomed to fail when one of the SUV's tires was damaged, significantly reducing its speed. This allowed the police to quickly block the car and detain the two suspects, one of whom turned out to be a familiar face to law enforcement. Georgia. In Georgia, on December 20, 2022, police encountered an unusual case during their duty. Officers were drawn to a Dodge Charger speeding in the rain without headlights. When the police signaled for a stop and approached the car, they found a woman behind the wheel, a man in the passenger seat, and 5 children in the back without seat belts. The car smelled of marijuana, but neither the woman nor the man could produce identification. The man identified himself as Eric Tisdale, which was later found to be false. When an officer noticed something resembling a gun at the man's waist and asked him to step out, the man suddenly decided to flee, instructing the woman to step on the gas. A dizzying chase along the state highway ensued, during which the car reached speeds of over 120 miles per hour, collided with an SUV, but didn't stop. Police made several attempts to force the Dodge off the road, but unsuccessfully, until one officer managed to execute a blocking maneuver, forcing the car onto the shoulder. The man tried to flee on foot, but was quickly apprehended and after several attempts to use a taser, surrendered. Marijuana was found in his pocket. The woman driving the car also surrendered without resistance. She was identified as Gloria Hayhurst, 30 years old. A loaded gun and 2 more bags of marijuana were found in the car. Hayhurst, driving with suspended licenses, is charged with a series of serious crimes, including assault, drug possession, traffic violations, and child cruelty. Fortunately, the 5 children were unharmed and handed over to relatives. What a family adventure! Oklahoma City. But let's move on. On January 5, 2023, in Oklahoma City, a dramatic story unfolded, starting with a report of a car theft. Sound familiar? Officers quickly got into the suspect's trail, thankfully with the help of a police helicopter again. The chase took a new turn when the suspect crashed into an unmarked parked police SUV and, despite this, continued his path. The situation escalated when the suspect discovered a gun in the stolen car and decided to use it, firing at a passing police car. The bullet hit the hood, fortunately not injuring the officers. Several attempts to stop the thief by blocking proved unsuccessful. The chase reached its climax when the car disappeared into a wooded area and crashed into a tree, forcing the suspect to stop fleeing. The man who emerged from the car refused to obey the officer's commands, leading to the use of non-lethal weapons to detain him. After a brief struggle, the suspect was subdued and handcuffed, then taken to the police car. The detained man was identified as a 22-year-old Hunter Berry. The confiscated gun and other evidence were carefully documented. Well, it's not easy working in the police force. After all, pursuits may look thrilling and exciting, but in reality, they are tragedies and pose a significant risk to hundreds of people who may accidentally get in the criminal's way or find themselves in a rammed car. And that's it. Subscribe to the channel, and thanks for watching.